Hello.
I have 9:30 on Monday, November the 7th. This is the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board, and we are ready to start with the Reciprocity Committee. I will go ahead and start on those. If you've got any questions as I proceed, please let me know. First, we have an application for reciprocity of an esthetician license from California for Carla Chapman. Certification shows initial licensure in July 2005 with 600 hours by examination. Ms. Chapman is also licensed in Alabama and has been since 2014. She was unable to provide a letter from her employer, but by email she explains her work history and the fact that she doesn't quite have the last 5 years. My recommendation is that we approve her for licensure. And page 4 has her email. California has 400 hours, so that's all she would have completed, but she's been licensed since 2005, and then she's also licensed in Alabama since 2014. She states that where she worked just does not provide affidavits that are notarized, and so she's been working in the industry probably off and on since '05. She just wasn't able to get a notarized letter.
I'd move that we approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is an application for reciprocity of a cosmetology license from Michigan for Amal Farak. The certification shows an initial licensure in December of 2015 by Reciprocity. Ms. Farak is here. If the board has any questions, we can definitely ask her to come up. She has provided translated documents showing that she completed 1,800 hours in 2004 in Damascus. The process with most of these that have licensure within the United States less than 5 years is to have them take the Tennessee examination. That would be my recommendation at this point. Would you like me to have her come up in case there's an
Please.
issue with the language?
Please.
Ms. Farrak?
Frock, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here today. Can you tell us something about your practical experience? Can you tell me about your education and how you've been doing hair?
Had the hours that she took in Damascus, and she has a license from Chicago. My bad. The question is like, what can she explain exactly what?
Well, I see that she's had some school at school in New York, I believe, for high school.
Like that in high school in New York.
Documents that you have are from Universal Services, and that's the translation of the document, if you will. We've got her originals, but they're not in English, so we're just presenting
Oh,
the
okay,
translated
okay.
version, yes.
Okay.
The situation that the board has is the licensure from Michigan is only from 2015. And
Doesn't have
so
enough
that's
years
why
from
the
that.
recommendation has been the examination. So I just
Gotcha.
wanted to make sure, since she's here, that she understands the reasoning, or if she's got any other experience.
I think I would probably move that she take the Tennessee test. I have a motion and a second to take the test. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Since she did it.
She's gonna need to take the 2 exams because she's only had a license in Michigan.
اوكي انا واخده اللسن دي بقالي سنه. انا
Good luck.
Next, we have an application for reciprocity of a cosmetology license from New York for Joseph Fucci. The certification shows an initial licensure in November 2012 with 1,000 hours by examination. Mr. Fucci has provided a notarized letter from an employer stating that he's been working with them for over 5 years. In New York, he could have worked as an apprentice for a longer period than what his licensure had. So at this point, that is very possible. My recommendation would be that he be approved for reciprocity.
Make a motion to approve for reciprocity.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Application for reciprocity of a cosmetologist license from Florida for Rebecca McGaha. The certification shows an initial licensure in December 1992 with 1,200 hours and no practical exam. Ms. McGaha provided a letter explaining that she was in a bad car accident and then later had health issues that have held her back from working in the industry. Because of that time delay in working, my recommendation is that she take the Tennessee exams. Is comfortable just putting her through to the practical instead of both?
Well, she hadn't worked in many years. I think that I'd move that she take the test.
Both portions?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to take both portions of the test. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Next, we have an application for reciprocity of an esthetician license from North Carolina for Ariel Whitman. The certification shows an initial licensure in May of 2013 with 720 hours and both exams. Ms. Whitman has provided a transcript with her hours given in North Carolina, given that North Carolina does not require over 700 hours. And it clearly states that the 720 is what she did. She will have a hard time finding a school that only has her complete the 30 missing hours. So my recommendation is that she be approved for reciprocity.
She has taken both exams
She
in New
has.
York.
North Carolina, I believe, is 600 hours, and so the Miller-Mott transcript that she provided shows the 720.
I'd move to accept.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we have an application for reciprocity of an esthetician license from Mississippi for Jessica Jones. The certification shows an initial licensure in September 2005 with 600 hours and both exams. Ms. Jones has provided tax returns from 2007 through 2010 in Mississippi. 2012 and 13 are from Florida, and 2014 is from Tennessee. My recommendation would be that she take the Tennessee exams, and I've been unable to communicate with her to determine the reasons for the different states. She does not have it appears she does not have a Florida license either.
Working in Tennessee without a license?
I don't know. In Tennessee, she could own a business, and I think the 2014 tax return showed that, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't, we've got an esthetician listed on the bottom of page 27, so that could very likely indicate that she was working in 2014.
Her application on the first page, it says she graduated with 960 hours, and then the certification for Mississippi only shows 600 hours.
Right, and I think Mississippi's automatically gonna certify the hours that they require for
maximum.
anyone.
Their
Yes,
maximum,
the-
okay.
The maximum, exactly.
That's good. Recommendation was for a test.
Yes, sir.
Both portions?
Both portions, yes.
I'll make that recommendation that she takes both portions of the test.
Second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we have an application for reciprocity of a cosmetology license from Puerto Rico for Sally Ramirez. Ms. Ramirez was presented to the board at the October 3rd meeting. At that time, the board denied her request for reciprocity because her certificate from Puerto Rico showed number 23438, and that particular number was licensed to a different name. Ms. Ramirez has stated all along that she did have a license in Puerto Rico. She had to do the follow-up to reach them and have them send in a new certification and prove to us that clearly it was their error. So a revised certificate was received just a little bit ago by the board office, and that reflects number 23458. So it does appear that it was a mistake on the part of their office. I have on page 33 verification of the online system. You may need to expand it a little bit to see, and that does match her name. The licenses in Puerto Rico do not expire, so that's consistent with what we've seen. They just issue it. And their number of hours vary, so she has stated that she has 2,000 hours. At this point, I would recommend that she take the exams in Tennessee, that they're not offered the same way as here in Puerto Rico. Her transcript shows 1,350 hours done between 2011 and 2013, and then she went back to school in 13 through 14 and added an additional 900 hours. So we do have proof of the hours.
Make a recommendation that she take both portions of the test.
I would second, and all in favor say aye. Aye, motion carries.
Next, we have an application for reciprocity of a manicurist license from Florida for Anna Spires. Certification shows an initial licensure in October 2015 with 240 hours and no examination. Ms. Spires has provided a letter about her personal situation and why the 5 years work experience is not there. Also, she failed to renew her Florida license between 2005 and 2015. Therefore, she lost her initial licensure date of 2001. The board has seen this happen with other Florida applicants, so that piece we've seen before. Her letter on page 37 explains her situation. I'll give the board members time to review it, and my recommendation is that she take the exams, given that she definitely didn't in Florida.
This one document on work, that's the only one we have, profit and loss.
It's the only thing we have. She, in conversations with both her and her mother, she explained to me that most of her documents, because of this personal situation that the letter explains, she doesn't have any copies of her returns. She's not sure that the spouse did them correctly. She really just had this. So she, in essence, we could ask her for additional hours. That would definitely be a huge setback. The Florida certification of 2015 would not give her time for work experience, but we have seen where once they stop renewing, and she told me she didn't have the money. She literally knew she had to stop and was moving between places because of the situation. Therefore, it is very likely. I can, if the board prefers, put off approving her until Florida sends us something else in writing. I just don't know that I'll be successful in getting it.
Feel more comfortable she had something from Florida.
That would be fine. If we don't have it by the next meeting,
If you get it in and you're comfortable with it, I would feel that
Okay.
you can make that call.
if she gets her documentations in, I think you could approve that, Roxana.
And we're talking about approving her to take the exams,
Yes.
correct, since she
Yes.
didn't have them, okay. I need a motion for that.
I make a motion to ask for more documentation and give Roxana the ability to approve.
Second, and those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Reiterate, in her case, because Florida is certifying 2015, and that just doesn't give us enough information, although it's plausible, I will reach out to that state board and ask for something else in writing, and then with that, be able to approve her to test. Thank you, and that is it for our reciprocity committee meeting. Thank you very, very much. We will take a break then, and at 10 o'clock, the full meeting starts. Thank you.
There's an issue. She is good in,
This meeting of the State Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners is called to order. We should probably begin by having a roll call.
Thank you very much. And today is Monday, November the 7th. We are starting right at 10 o'clock. I will start with Ms. Kelly Barger,
Present.
Ms. Anita Charlton,
Present.
Mr. Bobby Finger,
Present.
Mr. Ron Gillahan,
Present.
Ms. Amy Tansley, not here. Ms. Nina Coppinger is also not here today. Pardon me, I got thrown out. Ms. Brenda Graham. Ms. Yvette Granger. Present. Ms. Judy McAllister is also not here today. Ms. Patricia Richmond
Present.
and Ms. Mona Sappenfield.
That's it.
Thank you. Roll tape. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gambusa. Hold on, let me make sure that I've got you on my list. Yes, sorry, Mr. Frank Gambusa.
You done threw me off already. Present.
Ah, thank you. Okay, we're good.
Okay, let's take just a moment to acknowledge our visitors and guests. Do we have any schools represented here today? Wonderful. Could I have you rise and just tell us who you are and what school you're with? Wonderful. Very nice to have you here. Thank you. And I saw someone back in the back. Okay. All right. Thank you, folks, for being here. Yes.
Thank you. If I could very quickly, I'd like to introduce you to some new attorneys that we have with the department that are here viewing the board meeting today. Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Glandorf. I'm the Chief Counsel for the Regulatory Boards Division here at the Department of Commerce and Insurance. As part of the duties, I oversee this board and several other boards. I have several attorneys that work for us. Recently, our legal division has changed the way that we're going to be providing legal advice and how we actually divide up that work amongst ourselves. Currently, Sherelle Hooper has been your board attorney that you've had recently, who's been providing you all of your legal services, which includes not just your rulemaking and attending the board meetings, but also doing the legal reports and making recommendations for violations of laws against respondents, but also taking care of any types of lawsuits that may be going on in the courts and whatnot, and also working with Roxanne on a daily basis as the applications and any questions that they may have or issues that arise. We've noticed that amongst many of our boards that the amount of work in order to do that has been steadily increasing over the years. And in order to provide, I think, more efficient and more thorough legal services, we've decided to break up some of that work amongst the attorneys within our office so that we each take different chunks of the work that's to be performed. So going forward, which has already been in place, that we're actually slowly moving it into an ongoing program, is that we're going to have 2 attorneys that will be assigned to this board and several other boards that will be reviewing the legal reports, reviewing the complaints and making recommendations that will be bringing you the legal reports, and also doing litigation on those cases. And I'd like Pam Spicer and Allison Ratton to kind of stand. Pam Spicer Pam Spicer recently came to the department. She has several years of experience as an attorney, and she came from Spicer Rudstrom, which is a private law firm in the area. She primarily, I believe, worked with domestic law matters. Pam came to us just, I believe last week was the first, last Monday was the first day, last Tuesday, I believe, was the first day. Tuesday? It was her first day here with the department. We're extremely excited to have Pam with us. She comes with a vast knowledge, legal knowledge with her already, and also a lot of litigation experience, which we believe we'll be able to draw upon for our division and for our other attorneys. Also, next to her is Allison Ratton. Allison is currently with the department. She's been with us since the beginning of the summer. Is that correct? Since June 1st, okay, thank you. And she has been previously working with the Cosmetology Funeral Board and also the Private Probation Services Council and Geologist and Soil Sciences programs, which are some of our less volatile programs that we have. And Allison has asked that she could also be what we are going to be considered a disciplinary counsel, so that she would be also assigned this board and be reviewing the legal report and also litigating cases. So what it will look like in the future is you will probably have Sherelle come to the board meeting, and she will be the one who helps address all of the board issues like she normally does. The difference will be that you'll have Pam and Allison presenting the legal report to you that we're going to split up. So we'll be assigning cases one and then the other, so that we have half the people doing the legal report at any given time. Going forward, some of the things that we'll be looking at is to make sure that we have consistency within the recommendations that we give, and that all of the attorneys are communicating to each other so that we know about past issues and issues going forward, so that we can draw on all of their knowledge in the future. And after the legal report will be provided, then that will be the end of their duties for the meeting, and then Sherelle would continue on to provide just general legal services to you all. And then if any of those consent orders that we send out or respondents decide that they would like to have a formal hearing, then it would be the attorney whose case was originally signed who will have the formal hearing. And I think that's where we gain efficiency. The way we do it right now is that if we have an order that would be sent out and we had to have a formal hearing, then it wouldn't be Sherelle, the person who currently looked at the file, who would actually have the formal hearing. It would be a different attorney that we assigned it to. So we basically consider it cradle to the grave, that the complaint would start with that attorney. They would make the recommendation. They would go forward with it for litigation. I think we're going to have a lot more efficiency doing it that way, and I think we'll have a lot more opportunities for full and final settlement prior to getting to a formal hearing with that. Do you all have any questions about that?
Tony, I'd like to say thank you very much for all the things your staff does. We know how important it is to us. Ladies, welcome. Thank you for all the things you're going to do you don't know yet. And we apologize.
All right.
What was the correlation of cosmetology board and funeral board being together?
There was none. My understanding is that there may be some similar type services that are given for the final disposition. However, it was and I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you. Our legal division did do an analysis as to the volume of complaints total within each program, what percentage of those complaints and total volume that actually goes into litigation, and how much settles prior to litigation, so that we believe we have balanced out the amount of programs. Allison and Pam will be working amongst other boards. They will also be providing the same type of legal services for the funeral board, the funeral board, the burial services, private probation services council. However, we believe that their volume will be the same volume as other attorneys within their division. And this isn't just for the Cosmo board. All boards are going this way, and we're excited to be implementing it. And we look forward to any feedback that you all could have.
Frank, I think everybody's just dying to get in our business.
Thank you.
Ladies,
Thank you.
welcome. At this point, we need to have an approval of the October 3rd, 2016 meeting minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? If not, we need a motion to accept.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Ms. Richmond to accept the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Ms. Roxanne?
Thank you very much. We will start out on our appearing before the board with the continuing education sessions. It is that time of year where we get to look at the dates for 2017 and discuss each of the sessions. I've got on your iPads the ones that are actually appearing before the board. We'll get a chance to have them come up. You can ask any questions. As the board knows, we receive the attendance records, should be almost immediately. So the hope is always within 48 hours that we know who's attended, so licenses can be released. We receive evaluations. I go through all of those. At the December meeting, we're going to have a PDF document for the board to review all of those, just to make sure that you've had a chance to look at them also. But because there's no required format for them to follow, they come in various shapes. So getting one document to you is going to be very bulky and cumbersome. I'm hoping here in the next year to be able to kind of have a form for them all to follow and be consistent. But we will get that to you for the December meeting. If you've got any concerns or have attended a session that you want to ask questions, now would be a good time. So appearing before the board are 3 of our 6 providers, if you will, and then at the end with the miscellaneous, I have the other 3 that are asking for the date. They just weren't able to appear. So on your iPads, we have first the session offered at TSU at Avon Williams campus, and that's Miss Paula Roberts. Ms. Roberts?
Okay. Okay. Good morning.
Aye.
You have before you the presentation for the 2017 session. They are requesting August 13th and 14th, and I'll let Ms. Roberts explain anything that the board would like to know, and then at the very end, I will do a recap of all the dates so that the board kind of has an idea of where we are for the entire year. All yours.
Thank you. Well, this year, we made some changes, which I think were well received by our attendees, except for there was one little faux pas, and I take full responsibility for that, and that was our food. I am a big salad eater, but apparently everyone does not feel that way. So we didn't have the buffet spread that we usually have. So if you take out our numbers, if you look at this year compared to last year, we did significantly better in our programming. Where we did not do well was our food. So we scored about, if you take out food, we did about 4.5 was our average out of 5. So for just programming, we were very comfortable about that. So we kept this year or next year's agenda pretty much the same because we know that everyone's on a 2-year cycle. And so we wanted to also be able to compare the program for next year with this year's data to see if we're going in the right direction. So it doesn't change too much, but we're excited because we did so well this year, except for the food.
I attended it this year, and it was really a good program. The first day, they had all the breakout sessions. The second day, it was more in the classroom. But everybody loved the breakout sessions because it broke your day up. You weren't just sitting there. It was really a good presentation this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
I normally come to that one, but I was not able to be at that one this year. Is this?
Because you don't eat salads, Ron, that's all.
I don't meet a source. Did the my lady folks come and do their presentation in this one, or are they coming back?
Yes, they're
Okay.
coming back. My lady comes for day 2, and that was that they kind of we
day.
just did a full day for them so that people were able to get their credits from them as well.
You guys always put on a great class over there. Food is always one of those things that's so subjective. Some years are better than others. And,
Yeah.
But we do
Well, I
appreciate
learned
the
my
efforts.
lesson this year.
Okay.
That was good.
Are there any questions on curriculum or anything you see, folks? Okay. Do we need a motion to approve?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Ms. Mona seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See
and
you
good
guys
luck.
next year.
Thank you very
Congratulations.
much. See you next year.
Thanks. We won't have salads, I can.
Next, we have Expertise Consulting Education, and that session's with C.R. Gordon. Ms. Gordon? Thank you. You have on your iPads the presentation for Expertise. They are requesting 2 different in-person sessions, and they will be on Saturday and Sunday, June the 24th and 25th in Nashville. And then the second session she is planning to hold is in October, October 28th and 29th, also in Nashville. And then at the same time, the online course information is provided. So far, everything that we have seen is that it's been a success. It's offered, of course, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. So Ms. Gordon is able to answer any questions. And I believe 2 of the board members have separately kind of evaluated the session. So I'll turn it over to you.
Gordon, it's good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you too.
Hope you have a good season last year. Everything went well with your online?
Everything went well. Everything went exceptionally well with the online, to where we had such a lack in the in-person seminars, which is wonderful. Couple things that I've noticed about the online. You have those who take it and want to take it because they are apt about it. They'll rather do it for their convenience, things of that nature. And then you have those who also want to take it because they're apt about it, but they're not computer savvy. So that is the issue that we ran into this year. So as I stated when presenting the online courses, we are able to guide each participant through as they need assistance. However, you and I know, if anybody ever taught education, that the student themselves have to have some knowledge of what's going on in order for it to be successful. So based on surveys that we receive, and then in return the board then receives, we make adjustments, and we have made adjustments to tailor it to those who are not as savvy. At this point, the only thing that I would do regretfully is make it so easy that it's not appropriate. So that is the only catch-22, I would say, that I have experienced since the online courses have been active. Now, we have completed several people in the beginning. It took a little while for it to get out. I really feel like it was kind of fast-tracked because we presented it on May the 9th. By July, it had really taken off. You had people from everywhere in Tennessee calling about it, asking questions about it, emailing about it, taking the courses, and then actually completing the courses.
So you're saying that you're planning on doing some adjustments in the curriculum itself to make it a little more difficult, or are you talking about the technology part of that?
Well, we did some adjustments to make the technology part of it a little bit easier for them to guide. Now, as far as content, I really feel like the content is based on the level to where if you are an educator, you should be able to follow that.
What are your numbers online versus face-to-face?
I can roughly give them to you. I know the month of September was a huge month. I believe there were 35 participants online that signed up in the month of September. That doesn't mean that they completed. And then you have people who sign up daily. So for instance, right off the top of my head, on October the 31st, there were 4 people who signed up to take the course. Whether they started on October 31st is another thing, because they may not be expired until the end of this year. I have some people who don't even expire until the middle of next year who've already signed up to take it. So it's kind of hard to say at this point what is still exact numbers being on a trial period, because until December, I still consider this a trial period to kind of see where we go with numbers per se.
How many have completed so far?
So far, it has been a total of 89, I believe.
Thank you.
Took the class online, and then I went to the seminar too. It was good. The online class was good for me, for my convenience, but the in-person you get a lot out of too, so both ways are great learning experiences.
Awesome.
Do we have any other questions about the curriculum or the program she has here?
Well, I have a comment. On the second page of your presentation,
Sure.
you haven't changed the year. It still say 2016, just for paperwork purposes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So as far as 2017, we will go from back to the basics to the expert educator. Is that what you're looking at?
No, I'm saying on here where it says prospective seminar dates,
Yes.
you have 2016 instead of
I see.
2017.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. This is for both, Roxana?
Yes, it would be for everything, the 2 dates for the in-person, both in Nashville, and I'm assuming that it is a typo in the wrong year as opposed to the wrong weekend dates. I think I checked the weekend, so.
Yeah, the
so it's
weekend
probably
dates
just
are
the-
right on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then her online as well.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next on your iPads, you have PBC Incorporated session, and that is with Ms. Pearl Walker and Ms. Celeste Harris, who are also both here.
Morning.
Hello, thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
And they are coming all the way from Memphis, so I really appreciate when that's the case, and they're looking forward to answering your questions in person. Their session is held in Cordova, and the dates that they have is June 24th and 25th. We have that date for both expertise and PBC, but they're obviously in very different parts of the state, so I don't foresee that to be an issue at all, and I'll let them both answer any questions that you have, and possibly some general information on how this session went. I know we weren't able to send a board member, correct, to yours?
No, that's
Oh,
incorrect.
thank goodness.
I did go.
You did go. Thank you, thank you. That's wonderful. All right.
Well, my experience at the seminar was great. I actually forgot that I was there observing as a board member because it was very involved, hands-on, and the people were just so inquisitive about what they had to present and the information they had to offer. I think I even asked a few questions myself. So I think what they're doing is really good. Attendance was, I'd say, a little bit under average, but I think it'll pick up with what they're doing and how they're doing it. I think at the time something else was going on in the city as well. So I give them a thumbs up.
Ladies, do you have anything that you would want to tell us about your program? How you deliver it? What do you?
For the beginning of putting this together, after teaching for so many years and attending the seminars myself, I decided I wanted us to learn some things that we needed that we can make money off of. A lot of times we attend the seminars and we learn general information or repetitive information, and I wanted us to use it more so away from work or the school, as opposed to if you are still in the salon working, or if you want to add an additive to your students so that they can be successful. I wanted them to learn those types of things. And a lot of times we miss the business part of cosmetology. So I'm that business advocate. So I wanted us to learn more about the business. We're in business, we're offering services in exchange for finance. So we needed to learn how to take care of that, so that we can be successful and sustain a longevity. And those instructors can be an asset to the school, not just to babysit or not just to be there and teach the students from the book, but to actually give them something that they can be proud and successful in their careers. So that was more so of why we put it together. And I thought Pearl would be a great additive to the seminars and the putting together of the program. Two gray heads together I thought was good. But that was why we did it.
And to add to that, we were able to present different teaching modalities, which is important. We broke out into different groups. Thank you. There were activities with mannequins. There were worksheets. One of the activities, they actually had to put a salon together after hearing a presentation on the business side of putting a salon together, everything from the square footage and the layout and things like that. So it was very interactive. We were pleased that we were able to have two of our colleagues from out of town to join us. Steve Lacey from St. Louis, he's a barber and an instructor, as well as Anthony Alexander from DC. He's with Regis, and he did a presentation on color and flat ironing. So we were very pleased. It was our first one. We had, the attendance was 10. We had diversity. The youngest person was in their 20s, and the senior person was 69 years old. We had diversity with respect to race and gender as well. So overall, we were very pleased with our first seminar.
Very much. Do you have any other questions? Do we have a motion? We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have a reinstatement of a school license. This is Rexco Radiant Academy of Cosmetology, and Ms. Claire Hodge is here before the board. If you give me a minute. The board is considering a reinstatement of license number 133. All cosmetology schools expire on September 1st of every year. They have 1 month grace period, if you will, which would be the month of September, under which they need to renew their license for a small penalty. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 62-4-121B, no school renewal application shall be accepted after September the 30th without an application and all the fees being paid. This school is located in Covington. The floor plan, student agreement, and the fees have been received by the board. The school was sent a renewal notice with instructions on the steps to follow in July, just like the other 74 cosmetology schools did. Reminder calls were made, and a letter was mailed on September the 14th. Ms. Hodge is here to answer any questions you have. Basically, from the moment the board office received hours for September, we realized that they were still in operation, contacted them and explained that there was no license, and walked them through the procedure of getting a new license before the board for consideration of reinstatement.
Roxanne, have we received hours from the school during this time?
We have, of course, in September, when we get August, that's okay, it's not expired. The month of September, however, we don't get until October 10th. By then, the board had already met, so we got it somewhere that week. Sherelle and I discussed it. The students shouldn't be penalized when they went to school, and we've dealt one other time with this situation. They're being taught by an instructor that's licensed, and the determination at that point, and we believe now, would be to honor those hours. At that point, a complaint is open. It will follow its course, be taken care of, but separately, the school did follow and closed until the board considers if the school can open back.
How many students are enrolled?
As of now, we have 7 students.
Okay. Okay.
I had visited the school and inspected it, and I noticed their enrollment was so much lower, but a lot of that has to do without funding, right?
Correct.
And our schools, of course, vary in size. You've got from 100 plus, close to 200, to the smaller schools, and they all fit a wonderful need in their area.
Mm-hmm.
So they did well letting the students know that they had to be closed for a while. You know, it's an issue for the office, unfortunately, to have to follow up with schools. It really is. Besides a letter and a call, we just don't have the manpower to, during that span of time, that last week of September, we had 4 schools in this kind of limbo between the 15th and the end of September. And at the last week, it was this school and one other that we may end up presenting at the end of the meeting for the board to consider. And things just happen sometimes, but with them all expiring at the same time, it's kind of an issue to be able to keep up closer. And to some extent, it's the school's obligation to decide to turn it in. So we don't know until the hours come in if they're really open.
Were you sick in September?
I was. I've been ill now over the past 4 months, trying new medication and also increasing my staff to make sure that these things are covered where it won't happen again.
Were the students still allowed to go while you were out sick?
Say that again, please.
Were the students allowed to attend school
No,
while you
we
were
had to
sick?
close.
You had to close while you were
Yes,
sick?
we did have to close, but I also had meetings with my staff at home when I did decide to increase the staff to designate different things for them to do. Where this,
And so we would be able to pay the bills.
yes, where the bills will be paid, basically.
We're asking for reinstatement. They've made good for what went wrong. And there's some students in limbo that can be back on track and get in school.
Yes, if the board approves today, or as soon as the board approves, they'd be able to go back to school tomorrow. There's no inspection needed, at least per the code. They'd been inspected annually. It's a matter of they have no license. So at this point, the board would need to approve for them to get their license back.
I'd make a recommendation for them to have a license reinstated and go back to work.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second to reinstate the license. Any other questions or discussion?
Second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Work. Gotta work, man.
Thank you. Now, based on our agenda, we will move on to our applications for examination. We have applications for examination for Amber Hilton, Sandra Holdmeyer, Kevin Cummings, Sasha Chisholm, Sanisha Smith, Jordan Curry, Jacob Mitchell, and Jacqueline Barber. These applicants have felonies and within the last 3 years or are currently incarcerated. The request is for the Tennessee examination to be approved so that they can test and get their license. The required information for disclosure from the student as well as a letter recommendation are submitted for the board to review. Upon the approval, they will be getting agreed orders for a probationary period of 2 years as prepared by legal counsel. Unless the board sees a reason to change the 2-year period, please let me know then on those individually. Once we have received the actual agreed order, they are then released to testing. I do have to point out the master barbers, given the change in the statute, so that you will closely look at their charges in the event that those charges directly impact the license itself. Several months ago, if the board recalls, Laura Martin was actually the attorney that explained what that would mean, but we would have the right to deny if the felony is something that could impact you licensing them directly because it has something to do with their licensure. I think at that point, the determination was that the board doesn't deny anyway, and so we didn't think that that would change, but I need to point them out each time. In this case, Mr. Kevin Cummins is a barber, a master barber, Jordan Curry, and Jacob Mitchell.
Roxana, do we know if any of these are still incarcerated at this time? Particularly, I was looking at the Barbers, Curry.
Yes, and I believe the first cosmetologist is as well.
Roxana, in the case of Mitchell, seems to me that we had at least a few cases over a period of time similar to all what we did with those in the past.
Made the probationary period longer. We've added the extra year. I don't think his cover sheet tells us when he's getting out. We're on page 54 or 53, correct? Keep in mind that once we approve this, PSI would be allowed to give them the examination, they could get the licensure. It doesn't change their period of being incarcerated at all. That probationary period starts the minute the licensure starts. If the board is comfortable with 3 years, that's perfectly good. But once that ends, then it changes. Now, what we have done, I believe, in one other situation where someone was coming out fairly soon, is ask that the minute that they come into the free world, if you will, that they contact the board office, give us an address, make sure that everything's current, and touch base with us. We can add that to the agreed order. That be the case?
On their release.
Yeah, that would be part of the agreed order, the length of time if the board wants to extend it, and that upon being released, they need to contact the board office for confirmation of address would be the main reason, and anything else the board may need to be involved with.
Do we have any other questions on some of these? Do we need some more time?
So you would need a motion to recommend that on that one?
I think that we can make a motion to approve all of these with the addition on that one.
Mr. Jacob Mitchell, yes.
That's
Just
correct.
let me know. We can approve everything and make a change on Mr. Mitchell. Just let me know if you're wanting to change the time or just the fact that upon being released, he needs to contact the board office.
I'd like to put the maximum time that we can
Okay.
put on there.
3 years?
3 years,
Okay.
And also be notified?
yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion with what you said.
That we approve all of these with the additional requirements on Mr. Mitchell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes, Cheryl.
Question, does he need to contact the board in writing, or is calling the board fine with you all?
I think as long as he can contact the director in a way that we can
I think in writing or email would be sufficient, just in case the phone calls get twisted and he say didn't get anyone.
Okay.
So in writing.
In writing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have an application to test as a manicurist with hours from Vietnam for Kim Chai Nguyen. Ms. Nguyen has provided translated diploma and a transcript from the World Nail School showing 714 hours work completed in 2016. The next request is from her as well for a different discipline. So for this one, you have the documents, and we've kind of looked at these from this school. They appear to match information we obtain online, but at this point, that's all that we have.
I think I want to apply for enrollment in this school.
Yeah, me too.
This is one of those items that the next round of rules that we make, the board will have to make the tough decision if we do something to verify and run documentations.
I've seen a lot of them come through my school, and it's just hard for the school to make the decision to own it, you know. What we usually do is we say, you know, we'll give you credit for half, since, you know, if the board approves it. For refresher, we will still do half the thing.
We have been approving these, so I'm going to make a motion to approve with Tennessee test. Second?
Frank.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
You gotta take the full-blown test, right?
Correct. With our international applicants, we're pretty consistent as long as the transcript's there with detail of hours and the board is comfortable with the hours being taken, or at least what we can see. We put them through to take the exams.
Excuse me, I need to withdraw that motion because I'm not permitted to make a motion.
Oh, thank you. I'm thinking reciprocity, so you
Could we have a motion?
I'll do
similar to
Ron's
that?
cleanup work for him.
Thank you, Frank.
Now do we have a different second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Brenda. I apologize. I had a brain fade there. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next
Oh,
we have,
one no. We have a no.
oh, no, okay.
Patricia.
Motion carries.
Next is the same individual. This is an application to test as an esthetician with hours from Vietnam for Kim Chai Nguyen. Ms. Nguyen has provided translated diploma and a transcript from World Nail School showing 798 hours completed in 2016 in the aesthetics discipline.
The World Nail School is not just nails.
Oh, we've already approved a couple for cosmetology.
And this one's for esthetician.
Oh, no?
I'm reading.
Do we know how they're doing when they take the test that we approve?
That is a wonderful question. So we can ask for reports from PSI. The issue is there's no direct connection to the school, to the international school. There is for our schools in Tennessee, right? Because they're licensed by us, they have a special code, and we can run reports at any time and saying this school in Tennessee is getting this passing rate or this failure rate. With the international applicants, they actually get put in by the board office. So we could see, and I can run that, I'll be happy to present that in December, of the applicants that the board has approved through the board office, and I would say that at least 80% of those are the international. What is the pass-fail rate? And we can look at those.
And how many times they've taken the test?
It can also detect
That.
how many times. We only get the passing, I mean, once they've passed, it kind of becomes fuzzy, but PSI has the ability to run different types of reports, so we can definitely start looking at that. And by all means, if the board is interested in that at the time of doing the rules to determine if documentation needs to be verified differently, that would be probably the grounds for consideration.
We know the difference between language and practicality as far as technical?
As
Because
far as passing and failing,
yeah, because I'm wondering sometimes if it could be skewed due to language as opposed to they would technically
I think right now, given that the only languages that we have for both theory and practical is Spanish and Vietnamese, the logic would be that that a person would pass easier or faster or in their own language. And I am still seeing failure rates in both of those languages, whether that's because, because I've had the opportunity to chat with folks and the issue there becomes, well, but when I learned it in my language and how the questions are here in my own language, it's still different. Remember that the PSI questions are very psychologically driven. So they're not an easy question necessarily, right? They're testing for the minimally qualified, but still, that's the explanation they'll give me is I've got the language, but it's still different than when I learned it in my country. So it's not a perfect fix. It's better than what we had.
Well, with my recall, I wouldn't quote anybody, but at our recent meeting, wasn't there some discussion with Lynn about the school and nationally what she's doing and seeing? Didn't we open that up and talk about that for a little bit?
We did, and the advantage that PSI or any testing vendor that tests throughout the different states that they have is that they're able to kind of compare these things. They recommended as we look at adding other languages to consider adding a dictionary option as opposed to an in-person interpreter, that there's some struggle with that as well. But yeah, the language change isn't necessarily a flawless fix.
To be consistent with this young woman, I think we have to recommend that she takes the test. Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
No.
And one no.
Next, we have an application to test as a manicurist with hours from Vietnam for Thai Dien Thu Lee. Mr. Lee has provided translated diploma and certificate of completion showing 648 hours received at Saigon Center of Cosmetic Vocational Training between June and December 2015.
This is also for the ability to take the test.
That's correct. That's all of these applicants are.
You also comfortable with your findings online as far as it feeling as though it's a legit school?
Well, legit school, we can find them online. That's all I can do.
I guess that was a two-part question,
Yes.
wasn't it?
When an international school applies, what is the difference? Do we just take whatever hours they give us and apply it to our amount that we require?
Yes. Do you mean when an applicant from an international school?
Yeah.
Yes. I think in the past we've reviewed what the topic is. Very rarely, maybe once or twice, we've asked for additional hours, and it was because of concern that something specific wasn't covered at all, such as sanitation. But otherwise, I think the board's conclusion has been, and to keep the philosophy of people going to work and not work unlicensed, then at least if they go through the examination process and pass, they've obviously been working or learned and so forth. I do think some of the applicants that we put through to test do reach out to the schools and realize that they're going to need some type of a refresher class, but that would be up to them. Once we approve them, they really could start testing.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we accept.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to accept for the Tennessee test. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries.
Next, we have an application to test as a cosmetologist with hours from Mongolia for Juan Thai Do. Ms. Do has provided translated certification of qualifications, diploma, and transcript. The documents provided show 2,000 hours received between September 1996 and May of 1998.
Roxana, I have a question. On these international applications, when you say that you verified the school, it's basically you just saw if they had an online thing, and yeah, and they and this is for all involved in the application process. Everybody on the iPad.
Everyone international. Remember that
International.
anyone, for reciprocity should be our United States or U.S. territories that we are able to verify.
Okay.
And we get things straight from those states.
Okay.
Pretty convenient that World Nail School gives their graduates diplomas in English.
Well, that's not necessarily the case. They may end up having them translated by the same
Well,
place.
not
but yeah.
this. I'm
Oh, yeah.
talking about the previous. The ones we're looking at now are actually in their own language, where they, if we graduated from Paul Mitchell and they gave me a diploma written in Vietnamese, I would be a little concerned.
Do any of these internationals provide any kind of work history from over there?
Not unless we ask them to. I mean, it doesn't normally come with it because our requirement to substantially meet these things is a certain number of hours, so that's all they're providing. We can ask for it. The only thing then that I ask back is how would we be able to know any of that?
I mean, these previous two, I'm saying, look more legitimate than the first two.
Well, because we can't do anything besides verifying online presence, I guess we got to keep with protocol and consistency and keep approving and come back to this in rulemaking time and figure out a way that we can do a little bit more verification besides online presence, because a lot of these documents I can get my 12-year-old to, do that herself. So
We still have the process of having to pass the test
Yes,
to back us up,
yes.
right?
right, I guess that's what's backing us up now.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's health and safety, and if they can pass through those portions of the test,
But I'm seeing a lot that have come from like international students, and some have chosen to take the whole course because they're like, we don't learn this way in our country, and they're wanting to learn the right way and understand what they're dealing with the public. A lot of the sanitation's not been taught to them. I mean, there's a lot they're missing, I think.
Yeah, and then sometimes.
But that's just why I'm so uncomfortable with some of this international without knowing more in detail of the schools.
Right, I have the same discomfort level because state to state reciprocity, we sometimes have to tell them to go back and get, that training and that piece that they miss. But here we're just saying, okay, online presence, you got documents that we're really not sure if it's valid or not. Go on and move forward. I do understand that now, we've already kind of had a consistent process of how we do things, but I do want to state, I think this needs to be talked about and revisited and redone in the rulemaking.
Do we have a motion on this?
If I could add, just so I don't forget this, just keep in mind that as Tennessee welcomes and grows the way it has, we are seeing more and more international applicants.
Right.
Absolutely. And if
Yeah,
they have the
that's good.
proper documentation like these
Right.
past few people do, that's a whole different story.
how do we know
than-
they're proper and not just better black
That's-
market?
Well,
Right.
I mean, you don't know.
And you don't
Maybe.
know what the document is saying.
And keep in mind that if we denied or delayed, which we did for a couple months when there was a concern and legal hadn't given us a decision, we are overburdening the individual at that point if we ask them to go back to school. And that is a big overburden and cost and time, and if they've moved here ready to work, it has some implications, so.
You know, as
I
an
have members-
example, Aim, to your situation, and I think you bring up a good point, if Paul Mitchell gave me a Vietnamese diploma, but if I had to go to Vietnam and take the test, and it was all like doctored up, I'm probably gonna get caught at that point in time that I probably can't get through the test. And
yeah, we're just.
yeah, but I guess I'm trusting in the testing portion that, the chances I think are slim that someone knows all the health and safety concerns to pass a test, because I can't even get some of my American kids to pass that portion of the test, right? So at the end of the day, without being like the CIA, if they're able to get through all that, I think we're still holding to our obligation to make sure that we're protecting the public.
belong to several international organizations. I'm gonna make some inquiries on these particular schools that are saying they're documented schools, and see, maybe Interconfer could just make an inquiry, maybe see
All right,
if
my
they-
spare time, I'll be glad to.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
You're on that plane from
No, but then you say, you know,
Call
do you
somebody.
put together a committee maybe that puts out correspondence? If they have a website, that means they have an email. But whoever doctored the website could be responding to the email. You never have brick and mortar to be able to make a decision that you're going to be 100% comfortable with. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the testing is where it's either going to happen or not happen.
There are agencies that do this. They verify documentation. There's a fee involved with that, and at that point, if we go through it with rules, every international applicant would have to go through that. We could not pick and choose based on the
Right.
fact that a school's documents don't look difficult enough to recreate.
Now, would that hold up the process of someone working?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then who would that cost be passed on to?
Well, the individual would have to pick up the fee for verification. In other states, they do. It's not necessarily a huge fee. But there are various agencies that do it, and that's where the board will have to decide if we put that through the rules, what is the process? It would delay them, yes.
Could we find out what the average lag time is and the average fee, and maybe as a board, we can make that decision? Because if there's discomfort, you don't want to just live with that either.
But-
Because I also have that discomfort.
Yeah. No,
I'm just
legal-
thinking from a process standpoint, how do you
Le-
rectify that?
Legal has told us we really don't have the right to ask them for that verification just yet. In our statute, we don't have anything that says we can send those documents for validation, if you will. Until we do, we either deny them, or in our case, to protect the public, we've put them through to take the exams.
I guess I'm hearing two things. We have to make those decisions now, but we can present the rule change.
When we work through a rule change, we can. The delay process isn't really, those agencies range from 4 or 5 days to possibly a month. If they're not finding the school, it would take them longer because they have to keep digging to come up with I'm so sorry we didn't find this school. But they work directly with embassies, educational facilities internationally. And they've got a pretty heavy presence, especially in certain countries where they know applicants are coming in with those documents. So it's not that it's going to delay it months and months.
Right.
And the fees, probably at a minimum of $100 to $250. I mean, they were not astronomical, but all that would have to be looked at that point.
But I think for a professional license, and you're going to go out and make a good living, and that's why you're coming here to do that, and possibly taking a job away from someone, I mean, to ask that kind of money and that kind of lead time, I don't think would be inappropriate at all. Matter of fact, I think that might be the cure-all to us not having to wonder if one has better documentation, because we're holding our locals to probably to a higher standard of what it's going to take to get through a test, and it seems like, we're being a little more lenient on the.
And that's exactly how I feel. That's why I think, in rulemaking, this does need to be looked at. I understand we can't do anything about it right now, but the testing, from your point of view, Frank, I feel comfortable with that too. But we
Not as
kinda
comfortable as you'd feel if we
had
I agree.
a more detailed verification process.
I agree.
Just
I
the
I mean,
potential
because
of
even-
dishonesty that really makes you.
Even
Considering
though
they're
it may-
flying out back doors when you come rolling in, and they're
Yes.
shutting
that's
doors
my
in
whole
inspectors'
thing.
faces. It's a
Yeah.
tough one to just buy into.
The integrity is not up there like it should be. And if we're making our in-state locals do certain things and prolong their process, then I'm sorry, but I don't really have a filter on international applicants neither.
Let's go ahead and see if we can put together a motion on this one or not. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the presentees as they are to be able to take the tendency test.
Second.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to ask council a question on when the next rulemaking potential is for us to possibly present this idea from this board.
We have a rulemaking hearing coming up in December, but this would not be ready. This is going to take some research and some thought about how to best go about developing a process to more accurately verify the educational background of international applicants, simply because there are so many countries involved in so many schools, we're really going to have to think and research the best way to structure that rule. And so it would likely be something that we wouldn't get a draft for probably until spring, if I had to guesstimate. And the hearing, I'm not sure when the hearing would be because it is a lengthy process making rules.
The recommendation to us be to, if we all as a board felt strongly about that, to continue to move forward and just let the time play itself out, and we'll continue to make decisions until we can present it?
That would be my recommendation. I think the testing process is somewhat of a assurance that we are protecting the health, safety, and welfare of individuals to some extent. And so I think with that in place, I think the board could continue to review these applications while we work on a rule potentially to address this issue.
So the motion we have is to approve with the test, Tennessee test. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries.
Application to test as a master barber with hours from Iraq for Abdullah Salman. Mr. Salman appeared, Mr. Salman? Oh, good. You have on your iPads, starting with page 80, the application. He's appearing before the board in case you have any questions or he can add information about his experience. He has provided a translated diploma showing completion of training from a vocational center between September of 1992 and September of 1994. He does not have a transcript at this time, and so when he and I spoke and I knew he was in the area, it made sense because there was no transcript or anything else he could provide from his country to appear and answer any questions you may have, and his English is limited.
Is the request for reciprocity or for the
No,
ability to take
It
the
is the
Tennessee
same,
test?
we're still on the same ability to test. When I reached out to him, knowing that he's in Middle Tennessee, our conversation was about the transcript, the basis of the classes. There's just nothing he has that lists those. His diploma obviously covers 2 years. So the 2 years time span would make sense for the educational piece, but we don't have those details.
Based on the decisions we've already made as precedent, I think this looks probably more informative and cleaner than everything else we have. So with that said, I mean, I'd make a
It
motion
is
for him
here.
to be able to take the Tennessee test.
He is here if you want to ask him any questions. No? Good. So we have a motion to approve with the Tennessee test. Any other discussion?
I have a question. You said that language is an issue for you.
Language, I can Arabic, Norwegian, Italian.
Didn't know what kind of translation we had. I know we don't have.
Barber, it's in English, yeah.
So, you can read and understand English, right? Okay.
I cannot understand perfect, but I can.
Okay.
I've got one question. He's got, one place he had 1,024 hours, and the other place 412 hours, gets him a total of 1,436. If take a barber, he's about 64 hours short.
No, but I think this is just for high school.
Diploma is a 2-year period of a diploma, which should more than cover possibly about 2,000 hours. If we look at from 1992 to 1994. The other document that you're seeing is his high school information.
You can read and understand English. I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Solomon, can I ask you, where are you working right now?
How, you mean? I haven't working on. I just wait.
Okay, good answer, yes. Sometimes I catch them on that.
But what I was gonna suggest about the language is some schools offer kind of a refresher program, just a short training session before you take the test. That might be something
Of
that's
course.
helpful.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say no. Motion carries.
So Sherelle pointed a good question. In this particular application, there is nothing on it that says the number of hours, as Mr. Fingers pointed out. Therefore, is there a concern about the hours, or is the time span okay?
Had it said 1 year, I'd have been concerned. I think the
I'm with-
2 year covers probably any lag time that would have been in between. That was my evaluation of it.
Good luck.
On that too, wouldn't you?
Thank you. We are on our last applicant to test. This is an application as a cosmetologist with hours from Vietnam for Tran Thai Lee. Ms. Lee has provided translated vocational certificate of qualifications and what appears to be a withdrawal document. That's the first time I've seen one that looks like our withdrawal documents. But the documents provided show that she's completed 1,500 hours between 2002 and 2003.
This is the same thing, so I make the motion to approve her to test.
Ask, Rox, what do you mean that first time you've seen one that looks and appears just like ours?
Well, the training certificate on page 85 has the time period, and that looks different, right? Because there's no way for them to know what ours looks like. The document on page 86, the clock hours at the bottom, and I think Mr. Gillahan and Ms. Richmond will recognize has 1,500 hours, and then it's split, 300 general, 600 chemical, and 600 physical, just like our document happens to split the hours.
Well, that throws a little red flag to me, I don't know.
But what do you do?
Yeah,
Brings up the same issue we've been talking about, so
change the rules.
congratulations, second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve for the Tennessee
become more and
tests.
more a problem.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries.
Richmond, had you opposed the gentleman that was here?
Yes, because I needed more documentation.
Write it down, I apologize. Okay, thank you.
A tear, man.
I don't know it.
Okay. Did we need to take a break, or?
It's up, if the board would like to take a break, we're hoping that we will be done at 1. If this is a good time and the board wants a 10-minute break, or you want to continue, just let me know. We're starting with the miscellaneous applicants next. Continue?
Let's go.
Okay. All right, so on your iPads, we have a request for a waiver of Rule 0440-1-.10. This is requiring an applicant to obtain an original license within 6 months after passing the examination. Ms. Caitlin McKenzie Green passed her cosmetology practical exam in December of 2015. Under the cosmetology statute, the applicant must reapply for the examination within 6 months after they have been notified unless there's a good cause. Ms. Green has submitted a letter requesting waiver, and that is the first document here. It's actually 3 pages. And on it, she requests you to waive her requirement to retest. I don't really see any real explanation for the request. I will let the board review it.
So was she missing the eligibility piece and was late? Or,
In her case, she was within 3 months of submitting, and all she submitted was the application. And yes, no eligibility form, and nothing then until just recently for her verification eligibility. So I think her letter explains kind of the calls and that she was trying to send it in, but I don't think she reached out to the board office for quite a bit after the March deadline.
Well, I see here that she have actually 2 reasons for missing the deadline in her handwritten letter. It's because she had a baby. Congratulations. And then in the at the end of the email, it says something about a family member passing and she having to, oh yeah, somebody abandoned her sister and father, and so.
Are you looking at an email or
We're looking at
her
it.
handwritten letter?
No.
I think you're on someone else.
Oh, okay. My bad.
No, that's okay. We have several of these.
Okay.
I'm going to recuse myself on this one. I'm not going to vote.
But still congratulate her because she had a baby too.
Yes,
This one had a
that
baby.
still stands.
But you know, the deadline's the deadline, and I can't believe that if she reached out to the board, nobody got back to her.
She completed the course in 2014.
That is correct. October 8th of 2014 is the completion date. Of course, many applicants wait to test. And it
Exam
could be
date.
that at that point, that is the reason that if she had a child especially.
What's the recommendation of the office?
I don't have one on this. Now, we have 3. If the board is comfortable approving all and giving them the extension, a couple of others do give timelines and are closer than this particular time period. We can approve all of them and give them the license then goes out. Otherwise, they do have to take both exams.
Here's my concern, and I know it's not logical to just blow it off, but these people are going to go to work one way or the other, with or without a license, right?
well, and they did their school, they took their test, they passed.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it feels like they were on the right track. They got a little derailed over here, but where do we then draw that line to where it's always okay? But I'd rather see them be in the industry, legitimate, paying taxes, being licensed, and being under control instead of working without one. And I think it's not like they're going to do something else because they don't get their license. They're just going to do it illegally.
A motion?
That is a motion, yeah, to accept all 3. Because I don't see giant red flags, but I'm a little uncomfortable saying that, but I guess it's 51-49 as opposed to 90-10.
We
So
have a
that is a
motion
motion from my
To
side, yes.
accept, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
I
Those opposed say no.
Come on, girl, go.
Motion
Say
carries.
no. I say no.
Motion carries.
We can have one no.
So the next one is very
Maybe
similar.
back
This
on
is a
back
request for a waiver of the same rule, 0440-1-.10, requiring an applicant to obtain their license within 6 months after passing. Ms. Sharini Cameron Schultz has passed her cosmetology exam, this one in February 2016, so there's a little bit of less time involved under the cosmetology statute. The applicant must reapply for the examinations within 6 months after the applicant was notified unless there's a good cause. Ms. Schultz missed the timeline by only 2 months. She's provided a letter explaining the events that caused her to forget the deadline.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Next, we have a request for the same rule, 0440-1-.10, requiring applicants to obtain their original license within 6 months after passing the examination. Ms. Jadisha Mathis passed her examination on April of 2015. Under the cosmetology statute, the applicant must reapply for the examination within 6 months or notify us of good cause. Ms. Mathis has submitted a letter requesting the board waive her retesting.
I'm sorry, I lost track. This is the same, just requesting to have her license
Yes,
mailed? Okay.
yes. She waited a little bit longer, but it's the same thing.
This one says she was working at Smart Style at Walmart from October of 2015 to February.
Well, and, you know,
Working without a
the
license?
confusion, yes, she never got a license, so she shouldn't have, obviously. And that's on the shop for not realizing that that practical exam was passed on April 28th of 2015. That actually says they've got 30 days to get the real license in their hand.
I'll make the motion to allow her to receive her license without testing, just based on the previous two.
She have tested and passed?
Yes,
Okay.
all three of these have.
Okay.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the waiver. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Next on your iPads, we have a presentation from Master Barber, Mr. Larry Williams. Mr. Williams? Okay. He was not sure if he would be able to make it. This is an extension to complete his required continuing education. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 62-3-124B, the board may grant up to a one-year extension for good cause. Mr. Williams received his Master Barber education as well as his instructor education while he was incarcerated. And while he had the license for both of those, the board gave him continuing education extensions. He now has the opportunity to work in the industry. He is out. He was going to try to attend, and I had several conversations with him. He is very excited about working in the industry. If the board approves this extension for whatever length, and it may be the full year, I did walk him through the online course in case he has a job opportunity and wants to take it. Then he will be able to, as soon as he does the continuing education, get his license as a master instructor, Master Barber instructor.
Over one. Joshua Mathis, did we go over her?
106.
Yes.
We did.
We skipped over her? Okay.
No, we
Oh,
did
we
her.
went over her.
We approved her.
Okay.
She's the one that was working at Smart Style.
If this were the first
Without
time
a
he had asked,
license.
he'd be entitled to this automatically almost, so since the board had just approved him while he was incarcerated.
That's exactly right.
This is just really a formality
Yeah.
to help him get started.
He didn't realize that once he got out, he really, in order to get that physical license, he was behind already on the time span. He thought he'd have 2 more out, and his time to renew is like now.
Make a
His,
motion to accept it.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to accept and approve this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay?
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
next on your iPad, starting with page 111, we have a request from Master Barber, Mr. James Hyde, for an extension to complete the required continuing education. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 62-3-124B, the board may grant up to a one-year extension for good cause. Mr. Hyde has submitted proof of his active duty within the United States Army, and so until he returns, he's unable to complete that requirement.
I make a motion to accept his request.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second to accept the request. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Roxanne, I believe also that there's a provision that active duty military do not have to pay their renewal fees.
That is correct.
Okay, if he's aware of
Yes,
that.
that is correct. There's no way right now in our system, and we'll have to look if the new one can do something with it, but they actually do need to provide us with documentation, and then we waive the fee. It isn't an automatic. Yes, you're absolutely right, sir. Okay, so next we have the 3 continuing education sessions. We've already approved 3 of them. On your iPads, you have the University of Memphis, Collierville, and I think I've got them in different order. The first one on your iPads is the session for the University of Tennessee Outreach for Continuing Education. They are requesting the session be on Sunday, July the 23rd, and Monday, July the 24th. For budget reasons, Mr. Nichols, who has always appeared before the board and come in person, was unable to attend the meeting. So we do need a motion to be able to approve them.
Make a motion to approve.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Next, we have the Educator's Success, and this is from Ms. Stephanie Brown. She's submitting and requesting 2 dates for a Memphis session, June 26th and 27th of 2017, and October 22nd and 23rd. She was also unable to appear before the board given the distance, and these are going to be offered at Gould's Academy in the Memphis area.
Motion to accept.
I'll second that.
We have a
Yeah.
motion with a second to accept. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Last session is the University of Memphis in Collierville Center. Ms. Courtney Orion has submitted information on behalf of this Memphis session. They are requesting June the 12th and the 13th, and she too was unable to appear before the board.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept. Is there any discussion?
I've noticed that Roxana is on the circuit, really keynoting, huh?
I actually, the sessions, the 3 large sessions, I always am able to attend, go over any rules and laws that have changed. The one in Knoxville, I actually do the new instructor session there. They meet, and Ms. Barger knows very well, they meet and coordinate it every year. They're very passionate about how they put together the session. And so, yes, at the 3 large ones I do. And then for expertise, as the other sessions, as long as the date permits, I am trying to attend. The issue is always the cost.
I think it's awesome that you do that, actually.
Thank you.
I think for that message to be consistent coming from the office is very valuable.
We have a motion and a second. Did we have, we need to have our vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Glad to do that, Ron, just so you know.
Next on your iPads, we are on page 126. This is the school that presented last month at the October 3rd board meeting. Ms. Teresa Taylor was here at that meeting. The board told her she did not have to come back, so given that it's from a Memphis location, she presented the teach-out agreement. That is her first email in front of you explaining what she is planning on doing. And then she redid the student agreement to clearly show that it's a natural hairstyling school. And so that is presented before you. We had a floor plan and all the other requirements before. The board had asked her to update this, and if everything was okay, we would approve her to go ahead and get her inspection.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Are there any questions or discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next on your iPads, Ms. Beller is a school that also presented their information at the October 3rd board meeting. At that time, the documentation was very incomplete. The board had not received the fee for the renewal of the old license that had not been that had expired, as well as the new change of ownership. This is the school that had worked under a parent's license for 4 years. The board specifically asked that within 2 weeks all the documentation be provided to the board office, including the fee. That did not happen. I tried everything I could to reach her. The documentation was received not too long ago. So on your iPads, you do have a floor plan now that we can review. There is proof of the business license that was done at the end of September. I think part of this just wasn't presented to the board. It appears to be there. The student agreement is there. I was not able to speak to Ms. Beller. Between emails and phone calls, I've got nothing returned. I was able to speak with the instructor. The instructor tried her hardest to get us the information. So to this date, we do have the documentation and do have the fee. I don't know how comfortable the board is with her not being here and not having completed. The complaint has also lived its course. I think we've gotten it settled, sort of. I do not have the change of ownership fee. That is the piece that was missing online, and so it's still considered incomplete without the fees.
Comfortable with it.
I remember the whole thing, but
Yeah.
I don't remember how, do we know how many students are?
Based on
Affected.
conversations with the instructor who, I've apologized when I've reached her because I'm giving her all these requirements and I don't know that they're her obligation, but she's tried. They had 16 and they have closed, and so she's not teaching right now. The students have not been going. I don't think there are any other schools in that immediate area. But there is probably reason for some concern, just her not being here and so
Here,
forth.
it's showing back up.
There's several schools in the area.
Force somebody to open their doors and have a business. It seems like that she's not really taking ownership of this in a way that's very meaningful.
For you having to chase her down to meet the deadline was kind of a red flag for me as far. But again, is that enough to block this?
Hasn't got her money in either, right?
No, she has not.
And we
So I would say
specifically
for that
asked
reason, no.
within 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at the meeting, if the board recalls, and I did go back and look at, as painful as it is to look at, our video, it's out there, and so I sat through it. I kind of suggested she write notes. Those notes did not take place.
Frankie missed it.
So I did explain to the instructor that the application is not considered complete until the money for it is received. And it's not that we're about the money, it's just, that really is what gives us the full intent, if you will, that this is what we want to happen. I hate to see the students in the middle, but I do have reasons for concern.
The money is the consideration that's being exchanged now, I guess.
We did. When the instructor called me about a week and a half ago, or actually, we connected she answered the phone, and it was the school's phone. She said they've been closed, which I believe her. She was taking care of some things. She asked if Ms. Beller had to be in person, show up in person, and I said the board specifically had asked that she be, so
Hey,
today.
It's today.
Yes.
So I deny. I make a
Yeah.
motion to deny.
A second.
Who is this?
We have a motion and a second to deny this application. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Have a change of name for a school. This is the Hair Design School that has 3 locations. One is in Jackson and 2 in Memphis. The office received a letter requesting that all 3 schools be approved to change the name to the Empire Beauty School. The reasons for this change have to do with branding, avoiding confusion for students, improving their marketing efforts, and basically end up with one unified presence within Tennessee. Because the request missed the October meeting and their accreditation agency needed it on a specific date, I went ahead and on the 18th issued the letters that you see before you. However, this is still up for the board to review, so I do need a motion to have approved their name change.
I'll make a motion to the new name of Empire Beauty School from the Hair Design School.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the name change. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Make sure that line is.
Okay.
I didn't want us to get too far into the meeting in case anything else comes in. We've got a reinstatement of a school license that is not on your iPads. This is for New Concept School of Cosmetology, and Ms. Linda Luster is one, you are the only owner, is that correct? Yeah. Okay, is the owner of the school. I've not received anything officially. No payment of the renewal license application, no floor plan. unable to reach her by email or phone. So we've got everything here, and we just don't want to miss the opportunity of the board being together or delay the students any further. So when, very similar to Raxco School, we received ours sometime after October the 10th, knew the school was opened, phone calls had been made, email, a letter sent. A very similar situation, had not gotten a renewal notice, and so those hours are our prompting that the school has been teaching on an expired license. At one point, Ms. Luster and I were able to communicate, and I probably gave her a lot of information that she wasn't ready for, which is you need to apply online, and we need the fees, we need the floor plan, we need the agreement for the student. And she did call me back and state that there was a death in the family that was just absolutely put everything, it's just hard to keep up with a business when you've got a horrible situation going on. Unfortunately, without a license, a school can't teach. So she did close the school. The students have not been there since, but again, for various reasons, I've gotten nothing until now. So I'll let the board ask questions. What we have here is the school and her license. There is a floor plan I'll be happy to share and pass around. I don't see a student agreement or a business license.
Where's the school located?
Pardon me?
Where is the school located?
Cleveland, Tennessee.
Cleveland. It's been in existence and it had a lapse, like Roscoe? Yes. Okay.
How many students are involved in this point?
Actually, I have about 12. I've had a really tough year and hadn't been able to focus like I normally. I've never had a problem with renewing my school license or my license for that matter. I've owned the school since 2002, and a death came up in my family, and he was sick for a while, and it was just an unbelievable thing. Plus other issues, but that one was the worst. And I am sorry about this because when I did get the call, I was like, oh, no, I know I've sent that in because I haven't missed it since 2002, but I did miss it, and I do apologize for that. But I've always paid my fees on time, and my pass rate's been over 50% for my school at least, so I think I've done a really good job over the past 14 years of ownership.
Burrell, do you know if we have a complaint history on the school? Have they been things okay?
No, I've not looked into the complaint history on this school. Is that something the board would like to make a determination today?
So there will be an active complaint that hasn't moved to legal based on teaching without a license, if
Okay.
that's the question.
That's actually where I was trying to go with that.
Absolutely. That will have to be taken care of separately from this, yes.
Can you give us some insight on why you haven't prepared and sent your documents in a timely way so that we could actually take a look at this as we do all other schools?
Sir, when I got the call, it shocked me, of course, and I wasn't on stable ground anyway at the time. And all I really heard, truly, was, you don't need to be there. You need to, I'm going to do this, send you an email. Everything went black, and I scurried my students out and my help, my other instructor out, and we closed down until this date because I didn't want to break the law. I've never broke the law intentionally, and I feel like I've done a really good job for the state of Tennessee in the cosmetology. I'm proud of that, and for one little hiccup here, I feel like it's I'm having to get a license, a new inspection, and all those things. I just, it's your decision, but I love my job. I love what I do. Tennessee State Board, coming through the cosmetology course, has changed my life, and I try to change other people's lives as well. So if you'll take that in consideration,
Are you an instructor?
I am.
Okay. Oh, I see now. Okay. And are you aware now of what the board and the board office asks for when reinstating a license?
Aware now, right now at this point?
Mhm.
Yes. Yes, I'm aware now. What I don't have, I can fax, but the contract is supposed to be on its way on the 4th floor right now to the fax machine.
Oh, okay.
How long ago was it when you talked to her, Roxana? How many?
Sometime after October the 10th. So
Couple
it
of
was
weeks.
probably
So
a
she's
week
had a
after.
couple of weeks to get everything together.
Or to call me with questions, right? Or to
Yes.
email me or anyone in the office. The office staff was aware that the school would be calling if they had issues or questions, so they could complete everything.
Did
So
she
right-
call? Did she call?
No, ma'am. So right now, we are missing the application, and she's gonna be getting it, or the board office can print it for her. The fee is not in our hands. If the board is going to reinstate and approve the fee for the renewal, which is, I believe, $85, she'll confirm that with the office. The fee for the new license, which is $300, need to be paid, and the application properly completed. If she's a sole owner, we'll need to do the verification eligibility form. And online, all that is really quick and simple, because it forces you to. But in paper, if she can leave all that and the application's considered complete, then we can definitely consider it with the board's approval. There is no inspection needed. The inspection is on our side, and we've done it and met just like we did the other 74 schools.
I believe I would have been reaching out and touching to making sure I had everything here as an owner, but you know, people handle the situations different, so.
Excuse me, I was really close to my brother. Not using him today, but you know, it's quite something to go through. So I do apologize, but I don't apologize for not being where I need to be. I'm sorry about that, but I'm doing the best that I can.
From an application point of view, now, obviously, we don't have the complete application at this point, so if we were taking any of this on faith, you know, it's kind of like the previous case we just answered. Are we actually going to get anything in? Is it going to be? How long has your school been opened?
Well, it was originally opened by the first owner in 1995. I purchased it in 2002, and I've ran it since then.
Your enrollment contracts that you use today, if at the last student you enrolled, is it the same that you've always used, or have you updated that in this time period?
We've had to update it because we did lose the financial aid because of a problem with the audit.
So we really don't even have a copy of a student contract to look at to elements in it as well.
If the board is okay, we would make a list of everything that's pending. If it's received in the board office with the payments, and you give me the authority to approve it, it would be what I'd be reviewing. You'd be approving it ahead of time, or she'd have to wait until December the 12th. I believe is that second Monday when we have a meeting again. That's at your call.
Students have been out for the month
Probably
of
at least
October.
2 weeks,
Oh, 2
probably
weeks.
at least.
Okay.
I motion that she get all the paperwork in to you and you approve it upon completion of everything that she needs and let her move
And
forward.
the fees, am I correct?
And the fees.
We have a motion and a second to have her submit all the documents and authorize Roxana to issue final approval once she's received those and reviewed them in her office,
Including the fees.
including the fees. Is there any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck. Next on your iPads, we have a release of instructor hours. This is for Ms. Tanya Isby. She submitted an affidavit for hours from Pyramid Beauty School between May 2012 and February 2013. This school is no longer licensed, and the board has had to consider several students under the similar conditions from this school. Unfortunately, Ms. Isby's hours could not be confirmed on the reports. After several conversations with her and requests for additional documents, she was able to print out information from that school that the school used to hand students. Based on these documents that are provided, they have a November 28th, 2012 date. They show 221.72 hours. The instructor curriculum for the 300 hours is something that school did. That school did put students through the 300 hours. And so it is very possible that that was the case and they did never have her on the report. in any case, there'd be nothing for us to confirm with other than this document, and it does match documents from that school that we've seen in the past. I think even the board's possibly seen these. So, where it only has her at 221.72 hours, it doesn't go all the way till the February 2013, which she states on the affidavit. I think given all this, she's, just putting her through to do 60 hours at another school would be very difficult, and so I would be inclined to ask the board to approve her so she could take her exams for her instructor.
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve for the instructor exam. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carried.
Thank you. And next we have our reciprocity information, and we had at this meeting Mr. Ron Gillihan and Ms. Patricia Richmond. I'll let you kind of fill in the board, and we were going to amend one of the recommendations possibly.
Okay. As we were looking through the reciprocity, we had approved the reciprocity on all of those that had presented. I think they all were going to be tested. There was one that we needed to bring up to the group, even though we had originally approved it to be tested for both portions. I believe the name was Farak.
Amal Farak is Ms. Farak is coming to us with a Michigan reciprocity license from December of 2015. She came with a gentleman, I believe was her husband, to help her with the language and explain. She had 1,800 hours and is actually, her education is from 2004 from Damascus. We approved her for both exams because of our consistency. They've only been working in the United States for 1 year. However, as the committee wrapped up, they both spoke to me and said that the big concern is not the practical, that she would pass it. She did that for years in Damascus. It would be the theory, and asked if the board could reconsider waiving the theory exam because of the language barrier. And in Michigan, she would have tested. There they use interpreters.
So I think we would want to reconsider and have her just probably take the practical exam in Tennessee, and that would be our recommendation.
Is okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Just the other guy that was here that didn't speak, would he not fall in that category too?
One that said he spoke a little bit and spoke some
Very little.
Italian and other
Mhm.
languages.
Mhm.
He's not taken the exams, and he doesn't have a license anywhere.
Okay. So
Whereas
he
her
has to do-
situation, bless you,
She's
is a
got
little
it.
bit unique, as she
Okay.
has a U.S. license, and in Michigan, she would have tested with PSI with an interpreter. What we've done consistently is if they haven't had the 5 years, we still require the Tennessee exam.
I want to be clear on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we're reconsidering her for just the practical, is that correct?
Right. Make a motion to approve.
The report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the reciprocity. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
She
Motion
must have a
carries.
Kit Kat.
You be the good guy. I'll be the bad girl though.
Perfect. Thank you. And to Sherelle and the complaint committee, Mr. Gillihan, you're on a roll if you want to update anything.
I have been on a roll. Okay. Today, with the legal report, we had reviewed, I believe, 34 cases with respect to case number 15. It was recommended that we reduce the penalty to a $2,000 penalty, down from $2,500, based on, if I remember correctly, not double dipping against someone who is the manager and owner of the shop at the same time. It's consistent with what we've done in the past. Is that correct?
For number 15, the issue was that it was an unlicensed shop.
I'm sorry,
And
unlicensed.
so also penalizing them for not having a manager present wouldn't really be proper in that situation, and I caught that this morning, and so I recommended that we amend that recommendation.
And then on item 25, it was increased to $2,000.
Yes, and the basis for that is that the individual, in addition to being unlicensed, had a shop with a sign out in front. So in actuality, an unlicensed shop in operation. So the additional $1,000 is for the unlicensed shop.
On item 6, we're going to have a follow-up with an inspector. It was, again, I think some unlicensed activity, and people didn't have all their, I think we're looking to see that they're staying out of business. And then on numbers 16 and 30, we're going to check back on those as well.
Okay, I looked into those during our break, and so for number 16, that instructor did in fact have a reciprocity application pending at that time. She is now a licensed instructor with us effective September 28th. And then for number 34, that license for the salon is currently closed, and it had an expiration date of December 31st of this year anyway, and so that's the status of that license.
Any other questions or concerns that you saw? I'll make a motion that we approve the legal report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the legal report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
On your iPads, we are on page 146, and these are the consent orders received in the office totaling $12,950. We will need a motion to accept.
Make a motion to
Those orders.
accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next are our agreed citations for the month of October. They total $4,500. We will need a motion for those as well.
Make a motion to accept.
We have a motion to accept. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Finger. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
We have no letters of warning for this particular month, so that was nice. On your iPads, we have so we're moving along beautifully here. We've got an interesting kind of thing with the PSI. This is the Matter Expert Reviews. We talked about it at the last meeting. Where this is unique is it is an invoice for a reimbursement to PSI that I will need the board to approve. Basically, the week of September 26th, we met to cover all of the master barber and barbering curriculum, as well as all of the different disciplines in cosmetology. The process in 2014 started with 2 board members representing the board and starting the review, and there was so much to look at, we didn't quite finish. So the same 2 board members were part of the session this time, and we worked through, we touched all of the different sessions, including the practical exams. This information we did discuss previously. The expenses were charged correctly originally. The hotel was billing Mr. Gillihan and Ms. Sappenfield for their expenses because we have a contract with PSI. We need to be the ones paying for those fees. And for some reason, the hotel decided to reverse those transactions and charge them to PSI, and so PSI got billed everything. So in front of you is the invoice for $1,718.52 that basically covers one entire week of hotel stays, the taxes on the hotel, and the parking, that I will need a motion to approve, and then I can get that reimbursement to PSI.
I make a motion to approve paying PSI the
Thank you.
invoice.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve paying the bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
And we're almost the last thing, and then Tony's going to speak to you for a minute, but I do have a young lady that's wanting to be introduced to the board. She's an esthetician with the license. Sherelle is going to go back and forth on her request to make sure that we guide her correctly on what the board can and can't approve, but she's very excited about meeting you all. So if you'll give me a minute. Ms. Kelly?
Just for a little bit of background, Ms. Kelly submitted a request for the board to approve a new procedure she wants to do, and I sent her a follow-up letter advising her that under the UAPA, a declaratory order is the proper way to seek the board's approval regarding something of that nature. And so today she still wanted to come and meet the board and introduce herself to you all. So thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And I'm so sorry that I didn't do it the proper way. I've started my own business in enhanced aesthetics, and the reason why I'm getting questions of, well, if you know this advanced technology and you're getting the training, why can't we learn it too? And I have no problem with that, but I want them licensed first, and I think they need to be in the field. And secondly, I really wanted to start targeting those who were in the medical setting of it. When they're in the medical setting, first of all, they go into that medical setting. Most of them don't even have medical terminology. In the dermatology offices, medical practitioners are taking on our estheticians. Yes, sir. They're taking our estheticians with no medical background, even medical terminology. So that's a big deal to me, because that's a big door that got opened. And so I was really wanting to focus on them. And also my students, telling them once you're licensed, yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point, is to want you and to continue your education. The most other question I get, can we get continued education hours approved? Because there's not really anything out there for them. So I said, if I ever talk to the board, I'd be glad to ask. And I started this as my business, so that way when I take in money, I've got somewhere to, put it for when I file taxes and that sort of thing. But we are wanting approval of ours. We're wanting recognition and for the validity in our performance of our treatments. It's not just to build our personal portfolios, but it's to put it on that wall so our public can see that training, not just go by on word of mouth. There are not even instructors in training in advanced technology. And I'm doing learn it from the industry, but to go to my cardiologist because it's electrical, and my hands are actually on someone. So I'm trying to get the medical side of it. What would it take for the board to recognize credit hours?
Well, last year we had a bill in legislature, and we were shot down on credit hours. And each year we go to the legislature, and we do feel like that there is, since I've been an esthetician, the field has grown basically in dog years. I mean, it's just amazing what's available in education. Have you visited with Suzanne Warfield with NCEA? You might check online, join NCEA. You can become nationally certified through NCEA and learn the medical terminology. It's highly respected in what I'm hearing that you really want to do. but until the state of Tennessee legislature votes in favor of any kind of advanced education, more hours, I think that it was passed along to me that there was some concern about some kind of burden because of the cost of it. But I would call your representative and get that fire burning. I'm behind you.
Anything else?
But I did want to meet you all. Thank you. That was a big deal to me. Absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I have one other item before we turn it over to Tony here for a minute. It's the last item on your iPads. This is a request for a new book reference. And Ms. Sierra Gordon, Sierra, come on up. You know how to turn it. Okay. And so this is basically a book that the board in January of 2016 approved. Nothing has changed regarding the approval of this book. The book has, the board voted, looked at the book, and approved it. We now have PSI information on what they were able to vet and look at. And basically, for those board members that don't consistently look at PSI and go through the bulletins, what this means is that the information downloadable to students that are going to take exams points students to the books being used, and questions in the exam are referenced in those books. And so when we look at the instructor books, at this point in time, the only book with PSI referenced is the Milady, because it's been available forever. Pivot Point just came out with one, and we looked at it. It's not being referenced. And so this email on your iPads from Ms. Turnbull just got, I think it's from 2 days ago, November the 2nd. And so she on it says that they were able to finish looking at the information, go through the database of questions, which is 210, and 67 out of those is what could be cited, if you will, or referenced. So at this point, without all of the questions being referenced, and absolutely the board could pull out some questions if we found that a certain percentage, is whatever that small percentage would be, is not referenced. You could decide to pull those questions out. But at this point, that's all they were able to find. And so they have finished doing their review. I know Ms. Gordon may have some questions for you, but at this time, the bulletin won't be changed to reflect this book simply, but that doesn't mean that schools can't use it. Actually, as school owners, you probably know, most schools use additional books than what's referenced. We just can't reference something that isn't found in the questions. Any questions? I know you were waiting to hear that.
Whenever we went through the question review process, the material that is going to be on the test, I was privileged to be able to do some of that. And as Roxana just indicated, the test, of course, consists of quite a large number of questions that are drawn from a bank. And given test, there's a random selection of questions that pop up. So in order to be able to use a book as a reference and say this is something you can fall back on with full authority, it probably needs to have a reference to most of those questions in there at some point. I have personally reviewed Ms. Gordon's book. It's a very good book. It's a great reference. It's at this point, I think it's something that is probably an additional tool that schools can use to benefit with their students. And I think that as you go forward, Ms. Gordon, just from my own personal point of view, I think if your information was a little bit broader, you might be able to encompass a larger number of questions that are in that currently approved question bank. It's just hard to say to someone that let's use this book as a reference, because that might be the only reference book they use. And difficult for a student to have all the information they would need in order to be able to pass.
Okay, I just have 2 talking points. The first one is thank you for reviewing, because I do understand It was not something that had to be done. It was something that was considered. So that's awesome. I really appreciate that. The other thing is, as far as measurement and effectiveness, we're measuring a new tool with a 20-year-old test that has been written off of one book, and that is the My Lady book. Also, based on continuing education that I have now been doing continuously for over the last 3-4 years, now into the online perspective of things, the industry is constantly changing. And in my opinion, we either stay the same or we catch up. Right now, I consider us extremely behind. Based on the scores that I see, even with PSI's presentation that they do every year on their slides, per them, My Lady's book is the one that's referenced. So if everyone is studying from that book, our instructor test scores are extremely low based on them studying from that book and taking a test that they say a book is referenced to. So that's my first talking point. When looking at broadening things, this book specifically speaks to aspiring educators and educators. The information that is within the book does just exactly that. So if we measure it to a test that has been in existence for 20 some odd years, would the information absolutely 100% go with that test? The only way that it would is if I was given a test bank prior to writing the book, which is absolutely out of the question. That does not happen. My second talking point is I'll compare it to a typewriter in Microsoft. We know typewriters work, right? But how many people are going to pick up a typewriter versus Microsoft Word today? It's equivalent to the same thing to me, that you cannot take something that's new and expect for it to work with something that is extremely older. And if the test itself was, in my opinion, adequate or measured the things that we needed measured, I really feel like that our scores would be so much higher. And they're not as far as our instructor tests and exams. So even though there were 67 questions found within the test bank that already exists, that doesn't mean that that's something that we have to stick with or should stick with, because in my opinion, it's not working.
I just, I don't want to interrupt you or anything.
Sure.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to set the record straight that you really are not going to be working from a 20-year-old test. I mean, I just spent a week in Nashville this year, and 2 years ago, a week in Nashville on an industry panel, an industry of subject matter experts, although I'm not an instructor, but there were instructors there, and that test has been new and improved with each of those meetings. And this is something that we reference in the textbooks that are required. And it has been a struggle of mine being in a entity of aesthetics that is growing so fast that I feel very certain that there are some things definitely missing in the testing of estheticians as well. But I have to tell you that there's more progress made on that test this year for instructors that will definitely bring it up to date. I also feel like that there is, we lose the concept when we take a student and we test them. In cosmetology, it's for the minimally competent. We have to be able to give a test that they can learn in school, and they're tested on minimally competent, and that's just what it is. And we have not changed from that. But on the other hand, if you write a book and you want it accepted is in the schools, that's a wonderful thing, because each student is going to grab things and learn things in different ways. But if they can't pass the test, they'll never be able to operate as a licensed cosmetologist or a licensed instructor. So, you know, that burden, of course, is on those 12 industry experts to keep it to where they're getting, getting the information that they need to help our industry and get these students to work because of the investment that they've made and the time. But I just wanted to clear it up that we are not issuing a 20-year-old test. The information on that test is very updated.
How often?
We do it every 2 years.
And so with it being updated every 2 years, my question would be...
I've been on that panel for the last 2 times. I mean, I've been involved in this process for over 6 years. And it's not just that day. I mean, we have opportunities to find new questions and find different ways of answering questions. The questions are actually evaluated by PSI on a basis where, like, if 100% of the people get it right, then it's just really not a good question. So we have to find another question. And if 30% of the people are not getting it right, it's not understood or it's not referenced in the material or the book that they have selected. So, you know, it's a real struggle to get this test and the references of what the teachers are actually teaching to be able to take the test. And I am continually disappointed in test scores in cosmetology of the segment of the instructor's test, the nail tags, the natural hair people. I'm very proud that the estheticians do very well, but they have a book and they apply themselves to that book to pass that test. So, you know, when there's a struggle, when there's not an appropriate book, then that is a problem. But I was really... I felt very strongly that I needed to be a part of the developing of those questions from the esthetician's book so that we could get, as a new field, brand new estheticians out there working. And you might speak to Roxana about being on that expert panel. There's always new faces on it. And but it's every 2 years that test is updated, I can assure you.
If I can add a quick note, the instructor piece was not done in 2014, which is why it was very important to keep the same board members, and it wasn't done in 2012. So it's a matter of time commitment, and so I can't say if it was done in 2010, but that is the main reason we worked so hard this year.
Yeah, well, 12 people worked on it for 3 days, and I'm telling you.
And I understand that, but to the point of people passing the test, at this point, at this juncture, as I stand before you today, there's been 3 people to pass with this book. So that is also I guess a concern of mine, I guess you can say. Even one of the young ladies who failed 5 times with the My Lady book studied from this book and went and passed the 6th time. So there has been people to pass with this book. Unfortunately, from what I have seen, our industry, again, needs to catch up, because with all other industry, there are several listed references, and one can choose from which one they want to study from, and they can choose to study from all of them, or they can choose to study from one. But based on what I have seen, for some reason, our industry is the one that always wants to stick and stay with what we've always done. That's my concern.
Ms. Gordon, thank you for coming in today. We appreciate you being here. We certainly consider the things you tell us. We listen to you. And, you know, while it may seem that the wheels of progress turn slowly, sometimes it's for good reasons, sometimes it's for not so good reasons, but it does move forward. Based on our time constraints today, I think we probably need to go ahead and move on. Tony has some things he needs to say to us.
Yes, I will turn it
Thank
over
you for
to him.
coming.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I have some documents to pass out to you regarding our rulemaking procedures for, could you help me? Regarding the fees. We do have a rulemaking hearing that's set for December on the fees, and going through the emergency rules, which we presented to you last time. which are substantively the exact same as the rulemaking hearing. We saw that there was a statute in the Barber's code that indicates as to how late renewals or penalties for late renewals are supposed to be assessed. And it is we realize that the statute actually puts math into words. And so if you could imagine math into words, we realize that the amounts of the penalties for some of these, and I'll go through this with you, had actually been calculated and written in there and written into the rules. So, for instance, under the master barbers, if your license has been lapsed for more than 1 year but less than 3 years, you're required for reinstatement. You're required to pay an amount of twice that of the renewal during the period in which you did not renew. That's math into words. So we had in the past actually made that calculation and put it into the rule, but every time we change the renewal amount, it changes the calculation from the statute. So we realized that what we were about to do is we were about to change that into a more simpler formula, which actually did not meet the statutory requirements when you actually calculate it out. It took 3 attorneys to do the math on that. None of us that I know of were actually mathematic majors. So what we did was we thought that the best thing to do is just to go ahead and just refer back to the statute, and then we can probably give Roxanne a document that shows what that is, and we could actually probably post that on the website that says with the current renewal fee of this amount, this is what it would be, so that we've done the math for everybody. But if we actually put the numbers in there for all of these, every time we change the renewal amounts, we would need to change the reinstatement amounts. And if none of us remember that, then it's going to cause havoc. So what we've done is those are what the amendments do right there, and I'll go through each of those with you. But we were trying to make it as user-friendly as possible, but also in compliance with the statute. And I apologize that we didn't see it earlier. And so I would like to say this before I show these to you, is that the rulemaking hearing in December will need to conform to what we have right here, if adopted by the board, and we would come to the rulemaking hearing with that amendment for you all to make on that day, which is probably the easiest way to do it at this point in time. And what I've provided you is just a substance of the rules here, which is pages 3 through 8 of the emergency rulemaking filing. And if you go to page 4, you'll see I've provided handwritten notes for you all to make it a little bit easier for review, so we can look exactly at what we've changed, and we have not changed anything other than what we're showing you. And if you go to the top of page 4, what we did add there, this is other than what I've just talked to you all about. This is the dual shop licenses. The new dual shop licenses that were given out were created. However, there was not a late fee renewal on those. So we've added a dual shop license late fee renewal that conforms with the remainder of the rulemaking schemes, which would be $50 per year, which would equal for a 2-year license, it would be $100, which is currently what it is. If you turn to page 5, this is where the language of the statute has created the difficulty in providing numbers for actual late renewals. Page 5 talks, you'll see Rule 11, 1A, 1A4. So this penalty here, what we previously had was penalty for late renewal. What we did have was $60 per year, which is not correct. The statute actually contemplates 2 scenarios. One in which it is a late renewal for up until 1 year, and that is just the late renewal is $60, which we've set, which was previously what you all had agreed to. If you go to, and what we've done is the clarification was up until 1 year is what we placed in 4. If you look at below that 5, this is what had to be amended, where it's an amendment for a late penalty of between 1 and 3 years. If you look, what we've deleted out was the previous language that had a certain amount for each year. That would have to be changed every time the renewals amount would change. Interestingly enough, though, this statute was actually written when license or registrations of barbers was actually annually. It's currently biannually. So we had to go back and kind of retweak that so that the amounts wouldn't get out of hand. So So that's where you'll see that what we've basically done is just instead of redrafting the entire language of the statute, which would not be helpful, we just reference the statute so that if in the future the legislature ever changed that amount in the statute, then it will just reflect there. So in substantively what 62.3.129C1 indicates is that the renewal amount is between 1 and 3 years is amount twice that the renewal would have been had they timely renewed. That's what the penalty is. It's generally a double penalty. We could go through the math with you all, but I'll save you the displeasure in that. And that would conform to the statute. If we turn to page 6, similarly, we have a similar issue for master barber technicians, where they have a statute that indicates that there is a certain penalty that may be assessed for a renewal of up to 1 year of expiration. And we have taken that, and we have that renewal amount set to the same, the penalty set to the same as the renewal amount, which we would have seen previously in master barber, so that it fits the scheme as we go through these licenses, which is an amount up to $60. It previously said 60. The way we had changed it was $60 per year. Now it's up to 1 year at $60, and then after that, you'll see below 5 is what it talks about in the statute. And we hadn't changed that. That is still correct. On the bottom of page 6, in regarding barber instructors, that's similar to the language that we had with master barbers, where penalty for late renewal within a 1 year period time frame is $70, which is the same as the renewal amount. And then the reinstatement between 1 and 3 years, if you turn to page 7, at the top of page 7, on 5, it's a fee set forth as in the statute, and we've just quoted the statute there. If you go down to barber shops, you'll see we have the same issue, and that amendment is penalty for late renewal of up to 1 year is $75. What we had previously, it was just per year $75. We've just clarified that it's up to 1 year, $75. And then for the reinstatement, which is more than 1 year under barber shops, it is the amount that is set in the statute, and you'll see that that statute is 62.3.129C4, which is the barber shops is a different type of reinstatement than the barber instructors that we just looked at. So the statutory scheme is not the same between barber shops, master barbers, barber instructors, and technicians. It's not. It is very specific, and it is math. It is math and words. So I wanted to save you all that, and I think when speaking with Roxana, what we had said was that we could provide her with a sheet that has those calculations on it, so we can post for our licensees, because I really don't think it's fair that they would have to try to calculate that themselves. Those are all the amendments that I recommend that the board adopt today.
We need a motion to adopt these.
Make a motion to adopt the amendments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll need a roll call vote for this.
Motion did, I'm sorry, the first motion, Patricia, and second?
Frank?
Frank, okay. And I need to do a roll call, so give me just a second. Ms. Kelly Barger?
Yes.
Miss Anita Charlton?
Yes.
Mr. Bobby Finger?
Yes.
Mr. Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Mr. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Ms. Brenda Carame?
Yes.
Ms. Wybeck Ranger? She's gone. Tricia Richmond?
Yes.
Ms. Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Thank you. All yeses.
Thank you. That's all that I had. I appreciate it.
Tony, thank you for all your hard work. We understand how difficult all this is. Ladies, welcome to the party. Okay. Before we adjourn, we've got a resource over here in the corner that introduced yourself in the beginning, and if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you to come up to the podium for just a minute. You were with the Correctional Department. We have a lot of cases come in front of us with our incarcerated folks from time to time, and I thought it would be helpful while she's here, if you don't mind. Can you tell us a little bit about the program that goes on inside the prison systems?
Yeah. Do I just talk?
Yes. Can you give us your name?
Yes, my name is Jessica Evans. I've been teaching with the Tennessee Department of Correction since February. The programs are different. I previously taught for 7 years in the free world. The main difference is, of course, security. All of our tools have to be locked and inventoried, so anytime you're using something that could be considered a Class A tool, which Class A tool means it could be used in aiding of an escape, it has to be signed in and out. There's a lot more paperwork involved in this kind of a program. We have certain standards that in order to be a part of the program you have to follow. You can't have a Class A or B write-up within a certain amount of time. And of course, you have to have your high school diploma. We do require that, even though it's 10th grade in the free world. It's a great
I
program.
hate to correct you, so I
Yeah.
don't forget, it's actually a high school diploma now. So
Oh,
it's
it is? Oh, see,
2015.
look,
Yes.
I learned something new
Put it
today as
there.
well. But yes, they do have to have their diploma. Other than that, we try to run it as much as we can like a salon environment on the outside. Not every student that we have gets the opportunity to leave prison. We open it up to anybody that wants to learn that qualifies. So, any other questions anybody would have? But
Do you have a large number of people wanting to participate in it, or how many people can you take? In
oh
your
yes,
system?
we have a waiting list right now. I have 14 students. It does take a little bit longer. They can't come 40 hours a week. So the program takes almost 2 years, depending on, sometimes there's weeks where we can't have class. If we have lockdowns, we can't have class. Yeah, that's the only thing that's different, really.
How do you test them for their final exams? I know PSI can't go in, and obviously
They
they
do
can't come
actually.
out.
Somebody
do
comes
they?
in, and I've never done one, but evidently PSI does come to us.
Yes, the contract, they actually do go out to the sites that will welcome. And I think right now it's 2 sites. Do you just have master barbers, or you have cosmetologists?
We're cosmetology, men's cosmetology.
Okay, so I corrected you wrong. I thought you were master barber. Master barbers are high school graduates. Cosmetology still is 10th grade.
Yeah.
You were right.
But, we still require a diploma to get into the class. But, yeah, PSI does come out. The only difference is they lose a point on the haircut because we're not allowed to give them razors.
Gotcha.
So they make their guide with scissors, and they just lose that point. But everything else on the test we're able to do.
Pretty interesting stuff.
What made you get into doing it on the inside versus the outside, just out of curiosity?
Honestly, it's always kind of intrigued me. I just wanted to do something to make a difference. It is difficult at times, but it's very, very rewarding.
Absolutely.
I asked you that question. Congratulations. on
Yes,
that.
that's wonderful.
As
Thanks.
an instructor, from that point of view, occasionally we have folks come across our desk here that have finished the program, and they may not notice in their paperwork in timely. I think we heard some cases today on outside world people. If you hear that they're knowing or have knowledge that they need to submit their paperwork within so many months, sometimes it's an issue with them getting fees paid and things like that. We know that. We have had some cases where I think I recall a father or grandfather tried to help his son with those kind of things.
It is harder for them because, they don't have internet access. But state law, and we do all of that in class, but it is something that we do cover. We have the PSI packets available when towards the end of their program when we do start to train for the tests. But yeah, some of them, haven't even used a computer. I've got a student that's been, he's been with us since before the internet. So, when he's released, it takes a little more time, but they are eager to get out, and they really, really, really are glad for the opportunity.
I want to thank you for what you do. It's an invaluable service, and
Thank you.
we appreciate that, bringing our industry and our education into a very difficult place.
Thank
So
you, guys. I
thank
appreciate
you.
all of
Good
you.
luck to you.
Thanks.
Good job.
Meet you. Motion?
With that, does anybody want to go home?
Sing, baby, sing. Let's hear it, Ron.
We would need a motion to adjourn.
Do the tap, tap, tap.
Make a motion to
Adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank you all.